What's happening, people? Welcome back to another Scarfey Spurs Talk podcast. So, Jay, I'm joined by a fantastic panel because with Tottenham, there's always stuff to talk about. Even though, this is the third podcast in the space of like 5 days, there's still plenty to be discussed. The latest being the Gibbs White saga that all of a sudden come out of nowhere. So, let's introduce tonight's wonderful panel. Firstly, Luke, how are you? And please introduce yourself to the panel.
Hi everyone, I'm Luke from Spotlight on Spurs. I am doing very, very well, although if we got this deal over the line, I'd be in a much better place, that's for sure. How's things with you?
Yeah, all good, thank you. Thank you very much for asking, and thanks for giving us your time. Absolutely can share that with you. Absolutely, would be such a better place if Forest weren't so petty, let's just say. But we'll get into all of that in a little bit. Thank you very much for coming on nonetheless. Nige, welcome back onto the podcast. How are you doing? And again, tell people a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, mate. I'm Nige from Pure Coys, and I'm good. I'm good. Chasing 1,000, and I've never been busier as a podcaster, content creator, whatever you want to call it. I thought end of the season I could have a rest, but there's so much to talk about at the moment, so you just got to keep going, ain't you?
You absolutely have, and I think a lot of it as well is with Tottenham. Like you think end of the season nothing's going to happen, but all of a sudden we get so much change at the football club from top to bottom, and sagas here, there, and everywhere. So never a quiet day. Especially Alistair Gold goes on holiday, you know that something, or has a day off, you know something's going to happen. So keep your phone on you when that happens. Thanks for coming on, Nige. Joey, welcome back as well onto the podcast. How are you doing? And again, same question to you. Just kind of introduce yourself.
Hi, Harry, mate. Hi to everyone else, all the special guests involved. I'm Joey, also known as Tottenham Joey as well. I do a lot of Spurs content, and I'm a part of another collaborative called BenchView Sport TV, an urban company who pretty much cover the footballing world. So yeah, pleasure to meet you all, and yeah, come on, you Spurs as always.
Lovely stuff. Pleasure to have you on as well. Simon, welcome back onto the podcast. Always a privilege. How are you doing? And again, introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you for having me on again. Well, I'm not a content creator, sadly, so I don't have one of those cool names, something to promote. I'm just your average Spurs fan, based in Stockholm, Sweden. I'm a director, songwriter. Yeah, I work in all that creative nonsense. And I'm a regular on here, apparently. So, yeah, that's me.
No, thank you very much for coming on. I mean, I think you need to give yourself a little bit of credit there. I mean, you have a massive platform that you've created and, do some good stuff, some good threads and analysis. I certainly enjoy it. So thanks for what you do and thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
So that is... Yeah, that's tonight's panel. Thank you very much, guys. If you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe. If you're listening after on a podcast platform, please do drop us a follow and a 5-star review. Check out our sponsors in the Kitman. Let's run through your headlines in the last kind of 24, 48 hours before we get into any stuff. So, Morgan Gibbs-White has returned to Nottingham Forest training today to begin that preseason training. He was pictured on the club's social media. They made a big effort in posting about him. He was one of the 2 pictures they chose. Morgan Gibbs-White has made it clear to the owner, Marquinhos, that he wants to join Tottenham. TBR Football are reporting that. Alistair Gold reports the plan is for the CEO Vinay to take on the daily running of Tottenham, while Daniel Levy looks at the bigger picture stuff. Alistair Gold reports the current feeling around the Morgan Gibbs-White transfer is that Forest may only succeed in delaying the move rather than preventing it altogether. Fabrizio Romano on YouTube said that Tottenham is still hopeful and confident to get Morgan Gibbs-White deal done, even though Nottingham Forest are prepared to fight till the end. The Athletic report that Forest are not naive to how transfers materialise, but given Tottenham offered the exact amount required to trigger Morgan Gibbs-White's release clause, they're questioning how confidential contractual details were breached. Forest do not want to be seen to allow their most influential player to leave easily. Fabrizio Romano reports that no active talks between Fenerbahce and Spurs for Yves Bissouma. Ben Jacobs reports that Yves Bissouma is not on Fenerbahce's radar. TBR Football report that Thomas Frank has told Daniel Levy to sign Adam Walton for Tottenham. So those are your big headlines in the last kind of 24 hours or so. So let's get into all the chit chat. And Luke, I'm going to kick it off with you because we had the Club World Cup. I hate to talk about it, being our rivals Chelsea, but they did wipe the floor with PSG. They won 3-0 for anyone who didn't see it. Did Chelsea have the right to say they're world champions?
They don't, but nor do we. we keep saying that we're champions of Europe, so it works both ways, I guess. But after the annihilation of PSG, then yeah, I guess they kind of do. Everyone thought that they were by far and away the strongest team. Probably they were odds-on favourites to win it before it had even kicked a ball after beating Real Madrid. What they'd done in the Champions League final, I think, to overcome them. I'll certainly be saying it if we win the Super Cup. That's for sure.
Absolutely, and I'll be joining you on that one for sure. Nige, would you say it's quite a surprising outcome? A surprising result?
I think so, yeah. In all honesty, I didn't watch much of it, but Paris Saint-Germain are without a doubt the best side in Europe at the moment. So yeah, I certainly didn't expect Chelsea to beat them, and beat them as well as they did. So it was a bit of a shock, but fair play to Chelsea. You got to give it to them. They played really well, and Cole Palmer, wow, he's some player. Hopefully, he leaves his form there, and he'll be rubbish again next season. Touch wood.
Absolutely. I thought you were going to say hopefully he leaves Chelsea. I was going to go, yeah, that'd be nice as well. But
I would be.
I think
We
that's a
got a
bit
bit of money,
dreaming.
mate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you never know. No, I agree with you on that one. Joey, a different question for you. Well, it's kind of along the similar lines, same lines. Is it something worth crying about winning the FIFA Club World Cup?
I'd say so. Yeah, I'd say so. And the reason why I would say that is because you have to give credit where credit's due. And some of the teams that were playing in the tournament were fielding out very strong sides. And to obviously got to give credit to Chelsea, obviously to beat PSG, the European champions, in a final, it takes a lot of credit, and especially the way they did it as well. They blew them away in the first half. So I think, in fairness, considering all the top teams that were involved, I think you have to give it a bit of respect, unfortunately.
Appreciate your honesty. I think that's fair, and they certainly did play well. I did see the game, so credit to them for that. Simon, on a more positive note, have they shown us, we talk about Chelsea in this case, a way to beat PSG? Have they shown us that they're beatable?
Yeah, I guess it's just, I did think about, I said a couple of weeks ago that I thought I saw similarities between how PSG play and how Ange set us up with the freedom of movement, the high press, the high line. And I think if Ange was still the coach, I would be much more worried about this game. Not that I care that much, but I do think that Thomas Frank would be the sort of coach that would look at the specific setup of PSG and be, I don't know, brave or flexible is the word, but have the idea of playing kind of a direct type of football, like for one game just to win it. So I don't know. I didn't think that. I wasn't of the mind that a lot of Spurs fans that I've seen who thought that we were going to be easily beaten or we had no chance. I actually, looking at our team, it's all about the day. It's all about who sets up best. It's all about who wants to win it more. I'm that kind of guy. So I'm actually much more confused about the whole tournament and what it means for football, and the whole thing kind of felt fake. And I mean, when you're on social media, you get this sense that everyone cares, but then you take a step back, and I wonder if the tournament actually had like a huge viewing, if there were a lot of people that watched it on dance, or I'd love to hear more about that, because my thoughts are more about, I was happy we were not in that tournament just because I think a lot of the teams that were in that tournament are probably going to have some injury issues. I mean, it's a lot of games that these players are playing, and we've seen before when teams have like a really busy schedule that they tend to get punished in the season after. So yeah, I've been more thinking about that, like how many games can a season have, and is there football fatigue, and at what point do players start to kind of put game limitations in their contracts, and what implications will this have on the next season in terms of injuries and fatigue and stuff like that. So I found it more hard to care, and I kind of feel the same way about the Super Cup. It just feels like there's a lot of games coming on that are totally made up for this year, or just like a couple of years, on that are pretty new. So yeah, those were the thoughts I had more than what it meant for our game against PSG.
Okay, thank you very much. What I will agree with you is that there's a lot of games to the players, and I think wherever they're paid, they are human beings. There's going to be a point where they're going to crack. I think we saw that with Roger. He warned people about it, whatever you think of what he said, and then he himself got a really bad injury that he's still, I think, recovering from. So a lot of games for the players, but it is, I suppose, entertainment for us. So there is always a positive for us anyway. But I want to move on now to Gibbs White, and it's kind of worked out perfectly because we have just got some breaking news. It's not what we want to hear, but take of it, what you want. The Mail Sport report that Nottingham Forest have told Tottenham Hotspur not to make any further contact with Morgan Gibbs White. That is literally, we're talking 20 seconds ago that's being reported. So we'll wait to hear from, no disrespect, but the Fabrizio Romanos, the Alistair Goals to see, if this materializes, but that is the latest. So, Luke, I'll start with you if you don't mind. Do you think that we will sign Gibbs White eventually? Do you think this is just like a delay tactic from Forest?
Yeah, I think they've been a bit embarrassed, to be honest with you. I think they signed him for, what was it, 35, 40 million, and then put a 60 million pound release clause in his contract, which doesn't make the most sense when you consider how big he's become and how good he's become for them. So I think they're trying to do everything they can to kind of save face, especially, a week after losing Alanga. I don't know the legalities of everything, but I don't see if you meet a release clause, you can say that there's a load of stuff that's gone on in the background, but if you meet the release clause, the player's entitled to speak to whoever meets that release clause. So I can't see how they can say we can't have any contact with. Whether they can or not, I don't know. But I think that there'll be a deal done. I think we'll probably pay an extra 5 million or something like that to try and sweeten the deal, and probably a 65 million pound deal gets done in my eyes. But the facts is that if the clause has been met and everyone now knows that the clause is there, they're going to lose him for that price, whether they like it or not. And I'd be astounded if there wasn't other teams that would be interested in him, because I think he's a very good player. So I think a deal will be done. I think it'll probably, as I say, it'll probably be around a 65 million. I think we'll add a few million on we probably shouldn't have done that. So this is to sweeten the deal sort of thing.
I feel the same. And I was talking to my dad earlier, and I said, "Do you reckon Spurs just do the kind things?" I think we are generally a considerate, compassionate club, and just go, look, here's 5-10 million kind of compensation, if you like. Just give us the player and get him in for that preseason game, first one, and what was it, under a week against Reading? So I can see them wanting him. Ideally, you want him for as many games as possible in preseason to get out to scratch with Frank's system. But we'll have to see what happens on that. But Nige, do you think it's a PR stunt by Forest? Are they being petty in your eyes?
I think they're 100% being petty. I just don't get it. A lot like Luke. If Spurs have met the release clause, I do not understand what the issue is. If there's a problem, is a problem Forest side, because obviously their people, whoever's, does their paperwork, have missed this and they shouldn't have. I'm pretty certain the owner didn't even know there was a release clause, did he? That's what I've heard anyway, because obviously it was all done before he took over. But yeah, it's crazy. I don't understand it. My concern is now that another club come in for him. Now everyone knows a release clause. What would stop a Man City coming in and saying, "We'll give you 60, we'll give you 60 million, we'll give you 65, we'll give you 70." And I just don't see Levy, knowing Levy as we do, being nice and saying, "Okay, you can have an extra 5 million." I can see him saying, "Fine, we'll see you in court because we'll win." I just don't think you mess with Levy. That's the one good thing I will say about Levy, is you just don't mess with him when it comes to that kind of thing. I think he wins hands down.
Yeah, Joe, I do agree with that, actually, in a way. Although I felt that the Spurs, and I still do, think that we might give in. I think Levy does play hardball, let's say, at the very best of times. So that's made me think. So that's really interesting. Thanks for mentioning that. Joey, next question for you. What do you make of the way that Forest have handled it so far? And for a little bit of context for people, apparently it's been reported that it's the issue is around the release clause, as we know, and apparently it's something to do with they should have gone to the club first and said, "Can we seek permission to speak to Gibbs White," instead of going directly to his representatives, his agents, to Gibbs White, which apparently the club have done. That's only what's being reported. So who knows? But it looks like the release clause is there. I don't get too much of it either. But sorry, Joey, what do you think? Yeah, from Spurs' point of view, what have you made of how Forest have dealt with it?
I think again, like everybody's pointed out, they're just throwing their toys out at the pram, really. Because let's be honest, people, this isn't the first, nor the 10th, nor the 100th, nor the millionth time a football club has approached a player behind closed doors, and then obviously got the deal done from there. This has been happening from the beginning of time. So I don't understand why all of a sudden now it's become a mainstream issue where Tottenham have somehow broken the rules or have tapped up a player like we haven't been seeing players get tapped up from the beginning of time. It's madness. But as we know, Marianakis he's had his fair share of controversies over the last year or so. So, again, I just think it's a case of they've lost the Langer. They want to lose all their best players straight away, and they're thinking, well, how did Spurs find out about the release clause? Well, that doesn't matter. The release clause has been hit. Whether you want to, whatever happens now, you have to go through with it. So I think deal needs to get done one way or another as soon as possible, like everybody said, and we go from there. But I don't think we've broken any rules at all. I think the game is the game, really.
I do agree with you that it definitely, isn't the first. It won't be the last either time that this has happened. It's just, and it's called tapping up the player, isn't it? Let's be honest with you here. And Spurs probably have done that. I'm totally honest with you and took the Spurs kind of hat off, but it does happen, I think, a lot more than maybe we think and maybe the Premier League think as well. It's just a crazy situation. I mean, you talk about Forest owner Mariax there, Joey. I mean, his history is horrific, even at Nottingham Forest. Waiting for the official in the tunnel. I mean, who does that? Then storming onto the pitch, and I get this context about one you was injured, but then you're having a go at Nuno, and you're getting in the way, and you're just trying to cause trouble. Then you had that pathetic statement when he had a few decisions go against him, which yes, it did go against him, and they were done by. But some of the language they used in that, we will not tolerate this. We're going to court. We want this. We want that. It was like a nursery kind of child wrote it. It's pathetic, but I don't like him. I think it comes from him. This kind of, we don't want to, we'll play tough ball. We're not going to give in. You're absolutely right. So I mentioned it earlier as well. But Alanga, I think that it's still probably hurt from losing Alanga as well. Simon, I want to bring you in on this because I know that you're a very, very deep thinker. You love your analysis. Do you think that Spurs have tapped him up firstly, and what do you make of the whole situation?
So I mean, it's an odd one, but it's also kind of hard to talk about because I imagine that we've all heard different things, so we don't really know what the facts are.
Yeah.
But like if you boil it down, a player signed a contract with a team, and in his contract he stipulated that he wanted a release clause. That was the only way he would sign the contract. So they gave him a release clause for a sum. That means that if someone comes in for that money, he is to be released. Now, there's an issue around confidentiality, and then has to be a lot of details around that. Did the agents and the players sign an NDA, or was it just kind of a let's keep this secret? We don't know, right? So, but let's say they signed something that said that had to be confidential, and that's the standard practice around a lot of these release clauses. Let's say that's true. But then the issue that Forest should have is with the agent, not with Spurs. I mean, we didn't sign anything that said we couldn't know or we couldn't spread. So my guess is, as Nige says, probably he didn't know about it. He heard about it, and he wanted to see the contract. The contract said something about confidentiality, and he spazzed and did what he always does, which is to overreact and do too much with it. And so I actually think this is a non-issue. I actually think this will just kind of resorts itself. On the issue, if we pay more, I mean, I guess that depends on if we actually did something wrong. If we feel like there's any type of anything that they could point to, I guess I could see us paying a little bit more just to kind of say, to get it through and not, make it a bigger issue. Also, I think there's a time aspect here, which is we probably want him for preseason before we probably want him on the tour. So I guess there's a clock, and if this drags out, I can see us kind of paying up just to get it over the line. And then I think I kind of heard something that I don't know if y'all heard the same thing, which is that he actually has already had his medical, and everything is done and dusted in that aspect. And if that is true, I don't think anyone else will come in for him. I mean, he said yes to Spurs, so I'm not really worried about City or anyone else coming in at this point. So yeah, I mean, it's an odd one, but I'm feeling what the guys are saying here. I think it's a little bit of everything, but I do think it's gonna sort itself out. And I think the most important thing, like as a B plan, is the fact that we've heard that even let's say everything goes wrong and we don't get him, we'll still go out and get someone in that position, and that money is still allocated for that position. So there's Eze, I mean, there's other stuff we can do. So that's the most important thing. I obviously want Morgan Gibbs White, and we all have our hearts set on him, but I think it sorts itself out. I think it will sort itself out. So yeah, I'm not worried about it. But it's odd for sure, and it's a little bit frustrating because you just want to see him in the shirt, and you just want this to kind of you just want to go move on to the next transfer target. So yeah.
Frustrating is definitely a good word to describe it, and I agree with a lot of what you said there. Thank you, Simon. Just how awkward must it be for Gibbs White? Going back in training today, he's pictured there. The club have put him and Chris Wood next to each other, saying that they've returned. They know what they're doing, and it must be awkward knowing that you could still go, especially as you say, Simon. If it's true that he's completed his medical and it's all but complete, then having to go back in there. What do you do? Do you hand in a transfer request? You refuse to turn up. Apparently, according to reports, he was actually early. So again, make of that what you want. But it just feels typical Tottenham.
I think it's worth saying that, like most of the experts we've heard are saying this will go through. Like there's a very small chance, just for people that might not be as chronically online as us. Just so everyone knows, that most of the journalists, most of the agents, everyone I've heard from that come into my DMs and in my comment section says that this will go through. It's just a matter of how and how quickly, basically.
That's the impression we're getting from sources and reports. So hopefully that is the case. I mean, it's not ideal to have it delayed, but if we get the player at the end of the day and it causes Forest more pain at the same time, so be it. Absolutely fine with me. It just feels like typical Tottenham that we've finally signed a big player. I'm not saying we don't have big players at the club, but it feels like a significant signing, a player that Man City were linked to just a few weeks ago. And there's a problem with it. That's the thing. It felt too good to be true. In the space of 24 hours, Romero pretty much, like he's not going to Atletico. He's highly likely now to stay this summer. Simon Kudus and Gibbs White.
It's very
yes,
we get 48 hours of pure happiness, and then something comes up that just shits on everything.
I'd say it's quite Spursy.
Very Spursy. And it's disappointing. I'm getting on a bit. I'm a bit older than you guys, and I don't usually get that excited about signings. But I got to be honest, Morgan Gibbs White was the one signing I felt like I was 15 again. I was excited. I'm like, I cannot wait to see this guy in a Spurs shirt next season. So yeah, it's a bit. Do you think as he's playing a little bit of a? I know we're talking about Forest being petty, but Morgan Gibbs White going into training in blue and white. Do you think that was a bit of a? Because I don't often see Spurs players coming in red.
I'm the least conspiracy theory guy you'll ever meet, but he's 100% sending a message.
He must have knew he was going to get his picture taken going back in.
Obviously.
Oh yeah,
100%.
I'm behind.
I'm glad he went back in though. I'm glad he went back in. That's the sort of character I want on my club. I don't want a character where he just turns around and goes, "I'm not coming in anymore."
That is so
I
true.
want someone to be able to be like, "No, do you know what? I'm dedicated to the cause." And to be fair, the way that it looks, you got to think about, you're looking at it from a Spurs point of view. Obviously, we're thinking about it for how we feel about it. Imagine Harry feels, as you said, Harry, like he's agreed everything. As far as he's concerned, the release clause has been met. I've heard that the medical didn't go ahead, but he definitely agreed a contract. So therefore, he's basically said, that's where I want to go. And then they've pulled him back and said, now come to training. Like, for me, I feel like he's almost been, like, he's the one that's come out of this the worst, because he's kind of done all the agreements, thinking everything's going through, and then all of a sudden been pulled back. So, but I'm glad he attended training. I think that's exactly how you should deal with stuff.
This is what I'm saying. This is part of the frustration for me, because we don't actually know what's happened. Is he in a hotel in London? Did he have a medical? Did he not have a medical? Like, could he go to another club? Could he not? Is this, close to being done? Are we going to pay more? I mean, there's so much we don't know, which makes it everything even worse. Just not knowing is probably the worst thing about this.
Yeah, it's certainly frustrating. Joey, a hypothetical here. If we did sign Gibbs White for you, Joey, where does he fit into the system?
I'm not going to lie, gentlemen. It's going to be a bit of an unpopular opinion, I think. But for me personally, I know, like I said, it's going to be very unpopular. And I know a lot of people aren't going to agree or like what I'm going to say. But I think he takes Maddison's place. Me personally, I think he's light years above James Maddison in all departments. Bearing in mind, Maddison didn't play a game of 90 minutes for us all season. Last season, I think Morgan Gibbs White is a complete upgrade. And sorry to say, gentlemen, and probably, like I said, no one's going to agree with me, but yeah, I think he slots straight in ahead of James Maddison.
Oof, that's a bold shout. I think we've got to discuss that alone. Luke, let's kick it off with you. What do you make of that? And for you, Maddison or Gibbs White?
I actually said this on my own show the other week that I think he's an outstanding player, and they'll find a way to get him in, but where he gets in is going to be quite good to see. So is it going to be in the 10 where Maddison is? Is it going to be more like an Eze type where he's kind of off the left coming in? Is he going to play more of a deep lying player? Because I think he's got that. It is a tough one. The facts is that we've got so many players in so many positions. I think that he could operate in a 2 in midfield if he had the right partner, and in specific games. So let's be honest, probably 50-60% of the Premier League teams that we play against, when we play them, say, at home, they're just going to sit in. So you don't necessarily need to have, I think we'll be better defensively under Frank. So I don't think we're going to be as open. So I think he could play in that too. But also, there's so many games that are taking place this year. We could literally go from playing Burnley at home to Real Madrid away the next week. So there has to be, and this is what Spurs fans are going to find difficult, is that there is going to be rotation. There is going to be players that play in certain games that won't play in others. And if a player's hitting a bit of form, they might be taken out because actually they don't fit tactically. And this is very much what Frank's about. He's very much about looking at the opposition, trying to work out where he can kind of... But I think Morgan Gibbs White has got so many qualities, and there will be games where I think that he will be in front of Maddison. But I think there'll also be other games where they may say, do you know what, if we're boxed, if they're really, really sitting back low, then Maddison's the perfect player. But if it's a little bit more, if it's end to end, I think Gibbs White gets around the pitch a little bit more. So I think it's just characteristics that fit in with the game, the occasion, what we've got coming up. And I'd be very surprised if there was loads and loads of consecutive games where we played the same 11 week in, week out. I just can't see it happening much.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you make some really good points. And I think you've got, as fans, not always jump to conclusions that, he's been dropped or, he's out of favour. Because every time Maddison wasn't in the team, it was, him and Ange have fallen out. Or no, more likely he wanted to stay fit for the Europa League campaign. I think we saw that the relationship was never broken. It was all reports. It was all 2 and 2 put together. It was absolutely fine. And I think Maddison, if he could choose, would have Ange back in a heartbeat. That's a whole separate thing, although it is about on the topic of James Maddison. Nige, I'll come to you. Should the money have been spent on other areas first, maybe as like a fullback cover or a potential 6? Have Spurs got the priorities wrong? As good as a signing Gibbs White would be, to be very clear about that.
I don't think so. I think Spurs of, I think they needed a midfielder. I think everyone says we're crying out for a six. For me, we're just crying out for the perfect midfielder. So I think we've got a midfield of players that are good at one thing, but not good at many things. I think
Yeah.
Gibbs White is good at everything. So I don't think we necessarily need a six. I think we just needed a midfielder who could play any position in that midfield. And I think potentially, I think Gibbs White could. I'm not saying he's number six, but I think he is an excellent 8, an excellent 10. He could play off the left or the right. I think, yeah, so I think he's a no brainer. And it's difficult, isn't it? Because if we are talking about how much money we have to spend and, say we've only got 100 million, then maybe we could have gone down a different route. But with this potential investment, I'm excited to see what else comes in. And I'm not sure if we should have gone another way first. I think for me, Morgan Gibbs White was the perfect signing if Touchwood he comes in.
Okay, that's good to hear. That's really good to hear. Joey, I'm going to bring you in on this one. For you, can you have too much depth? Is that possible? And what are your thoughts on the signing of Gibbs White?
I think you can never have too much depth. I think for a squad that wants to challenge and win trophies, I think it's imperative that you have enough players where you can do what you need to do on all fronts, especially in the league and the cup competitions. I think, especially us going into the Champions League and stuff like that, I think not only do we need depth, but we need quality in depth. So signing players like Mohammed Kudus and Morgan Gibbs White only improves us. And I think Touchwood, hopefully, we get Morgan Gibbs White in, and I think that literally revolutionizes our entire team, to be honest with you, especially the base of it. I think it'll be really, really good stepping stone for us to really push on and, continue this good momentum that we had towards the end of the season.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to ask you about Maddison or Gibbs White because I know your opinion on that. You set us up quite nicely with that one. Simon, I'll come to you. Firstly, can I ask you about Maddison and Gibbs White? Who you think wins the debate, I suppose? Who's the better one?
Well, listen, coming into this window, I actually felt like the 10 position was something that we were going to miss on. Because every time we're all Spurs fans, we do our, when we bored with the lineup and we look at it and we change places and we say, is this strong enough? Do we need something here? And I always felt like, I love Maddison, but let's be real, he can't even play a full Premier League season without getting injured. He played 21 games 2 years ago, 26 this year. So he's never even played a full season in the Premier League. And as I understand it, he's never done that at Leicester either. So we know he's a player you have to be careful with. And then you look at our schedule, having 50 plus, games. And then you look at the coach and the way he wants his players to run and to be both, attacking and defensive and liking transitional game. And I kind of always felt that we needed someone in there to help Maddison out. But it's, the good ones are expensive and we have a lot of other stuff that we need in. So I actually thought that this would be something that we will miss on. So from my point of view, this was a fabulous signing. It's the exact type of signing we needed. And also because I'm totally with Luke here. I think you can play, just like I loved Kudus for being really a versatile player, someone that we can use in different positions in the midfield, on the wing. I see Morgan Gibbs White being able to play in the pivot, being able to play on the wing, being able to play in the 10. And I actually think that if we, as we all believe, get a proper six, a proper holding midfielder in, I actually think that we will see him play in the pivot on probably the left side, where we have Bergwijn, where we can play Kudus, where we can't play him. Because Kudus and Morgan Gibbs White both have this ability to progress the ball, to carry the ball upwards, up the pitch, something that we had a lot of issues with. And Kudus, his speciality is dribbling and just getting the ball to stick to him. Whilst Morgan Gibbs-White has that, range of passing. You can just ping it up. And so if we get a proper holding midfielder, you can have one more attacking 8 deep, more of a playmaking 8, and then you can have someone that's more holding, someone that looks after the defensive side of the ball. And then you can have a Madison or Kulusevski on the pitch as well. And so if you look at the squad in that way, a little bit more like Pep looks at his City squad, where you can see players play a little bit all over the place. You can see, Leno play on the wing, inside. You can see Foden play outside, inside. That's how I look at look at our squad. And when it comes to prioritizing signings, getting someone in that actually improves the starting 11 is something you can never kind of complain about.
Yeah. Certainly can't complain indeed. I'm totally with you on that. I actually interviewed both a Forest fan and a Crystal Palace fan today. The Forest fan was a YouTuber and the Crystal Palace fan was a journalist. And they both said that Spurs' midfielders, they're all very samey. They both use exactly the same word. They both said they kind of do the same thing. They're also saying that, because kind of lack something that's different. So it was really interesting because, we've mentioned it again tonight. That's what come up from both of them. That all our midfielders are the same. So signing Gibbs-White, I think, would be huge. But God forbid we don't sign Morgan Gibbs-White. Nige, who are potential alternatives that we could look to in that 10 position?
Oh, that's a question. It's something I've not thought about. I'm so hell-bent I am on Morgan Gibbs-White. I'll be honest, I don't know. Obviously, I've been wanting Eze all summer. It looks like he's going to Arsenal. So that's almost certainly not going to happen. It's like I said here, I just want a midfielder who can do a bit of everything. I really like is it Edison from Atalanta?
Yes.
I think he'd be my choice if we could get anyone. Yeah, I mean, there's so many players out there, isn't there? I mean, I know we're all thinking Morgan Gibbs-White at the moment, but there are so many options. I think the Sporting Lisbon midfielder, the Danish guy, I can't think of his name, Hoidman or something like that. He's handy as well. But yeah, there's so many, and but I'm just hopeful we get Morgan Gibbs-White over the line. To be honest with you.
100%. Fingers crossed we do get it done. And if we do get it over the line, this is a question and a half. I'm going to ask you all this. I want to know who we're most excited about signing-wise out of Kota Sakai, out of Matthias Tell, out of Mohammed Kudus, and out of Gibbs-White. This is going to be interesting. It probably will be Gibbs-White, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. Joey, we'll kick it off with you. You are giving me, the vibes that it's going to be Gibbs-White, the way you've been talking him up. Am I wrong?
Yeah, for sure. I think I have my heart set on Gibbs-White now. I think I'd be a bit gutted if it didn't go through. So yeah, for me, hell bent on Gibbs-White, and hopefully we get over the line.
Fingers crossed. Luke, who is for you the most exciting there?
I can't split Kudus or Morgan Gibbs-White for different reasons, and the reason for that is that Kudus does stuff that no one else in our squad can do. In terms of, Simon already touched on it, just being able to beat a man, coming up with just a bit of genius, but not like a good pass or something like that. Like in terms of just creation, you can just tell that you can imagine him being in training some days and people are just like, I can get absolutely nowhere near this fella. Like when he's on top form, he's just absolutely ridiculous. But then Morgan Gibbs-White, very similar to what Simon was saying earlier about you kind of draw up your lists and I'm always playing Football Manager. I'm always working out who's going to go where. I wouldn't have even put Gibbs-White in players we would go after. It just wouldn't. I can't imagine us spending the money. I can't imagine us turning around and being able to give him the wages. I just couldn't imagine it. So when it was announced, it was like, yeah, a bit like Gage. You remember in January where it was like, we bid 85 million a minute before the window closed. And it was like, okay, so where's that money now? Whereas with him, it was a done deal basically. So I can't really split them. The one player that I want Gibbs-White, but one player that I would take that I think would be very good in the Premier League is Xavi Simons. I think he could be a top player, and he kind of is not a similar profile, but he can kind of play in the similar position to Morgan Gibbs-White, whereas some of the other players we've mentioned are probably a little bit more defensive. But if I could pick out of the two, I would still go Gibbs-White. I think he's going to be a top player if we get him.
Hopefully you'll get it done, and hopefully it happens soon to put our minds at ease. Simon, for you, is Gibbs-White the most exciting signing, or are you going to opt to someone else?
I mean, I think Gibbs-White is probably the best player we've signed this window. I think Kudus probably gives us the most unique, probably the most unique profile looking at our squad, with the highest kind of set of execution. I'm gonna be honest. I think the position I've been thinking about most is probably the holding midfielder, the 6. So I'm still holding on to that last piece of the puzzle. I mean, we've seen a lot of, memes and talk these last couple of weeks after we did this double signing that everything's changed. We're new Spurs now. Thank you, and I've been hurt before, so I'm still, holding out that total kind of belief in the investment and Levy stepping down, all these changes that a lot of us have wanted to see at the club. So, but if we get like a really good holding midfielder, I don't think it's going to be Warden. I think that's going to be, too hard. But if it's someone of real quality that kind of makes sense of the lineup in a way that just makes you see it, if we get that player in, I think it's a 10-10 window. So. Just to be different, I'll say the Joker that we haven't done in yet. That's the position I'm most excited for.
Okay.
But I'm really pleased with all our signings. I have to say, Tel, Takai, so far it's been a brilliant window, in my opinion.
Well, I thought I'd ask because Kudus is an exciting player to watch. He takes on players, so I thought that, although I think Gibbs-White is better, I think Kudus, the way he plays football, does make it interesting to say the least. But we'll move next on to Mohammed Kudus, our confirmed signing. Firstly, I want to touch about his goodbye to West Ham fans and what we make of it. He said, "Pleasure to be a hammer running through life's marathon. Thank you for the warm seat through it all. Best wishes for the season and the future, West Ham." But he turned the Instagram comments off. He limited them anyway, which is interesting. Luke, does that mean he knows kind of, that he's not going to win those West Ham fans back?
Yeah, I mean, the abuse that was coming his way, wrongly so, but the abuse that was coming his way was always going to be to a high degree. And then to follow it up in his medical, when the doctor said, "I just need to check your heart," and he went, "You'll see Spurs there." I mean, that was not. I mean, it's great for us, of course it is, but West Ham are not going to be happy whatsoever. So it was very much a thank you, West Ham. I love you. I appreciate you. I really do appreciate it. And then soon as he was out that door, all of that went out of the window, and he was trying to get into the good books of Spurs fans. So make of that what you will.
And he put a hashtag Kudus dream, like almost like Spurs is the dream move. So again, look at it like that, and it's a little hint. Who knows? But you're absolutely right. Nige, what do you make of that Mohammed Kudus goodbye? And also, as Luke mentions, that little video that was recorded, with Kudus when he signed. I think that's absolute class, isn't it? And it's going to rattle the West Ham fans.
Yeah, it's always nice, isn't it, when your rivals get rattled by a sign, not only signing their best player, but when he's literally just rubbing it in their face as well. He was always going to give a nice goodbye, wasn't he? I don't think any player leaves a club and signs off horribly. And he had a couple of good years at West Ham, but I'm really excited to see him. I cannot wait to see Kudus in a Spurs shirt. He's the kind of player that gets you off your seat and on your feet. And I think we are going to absolutely fall in love with this guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with you. I think that he's already Spurs through and through, it feels like, which is quite special. Joey, next question is for you. Where does he fit into the system? Same question, with Morgan Gibbs-White. Do you see him starting on that left-hand side, that right-hand side? Also can play the 10?
I think he goes right onto the right-hand side, me personally. I think that right-hand side's always been a bit of a of a bit, I wouldn't say a conundrum as such, because obviously Brennan's played there, and obviously Brennan's pitched up with a few goals, especially one the most important goal of our recent history. But I think he just slots right into the right-hand side, and he's become this amazing dynamic winner that we've been looking for the last few years. Yeah, he like the boys have said, like Luke and Nige have said, I think when he gets on the ball, he just excites you. And, he's strong, he's quick, he's powerful, he's explosive. It's just like, yeah, I think he just slots right into the right, and then he just cuts in onto his left foot and just does what he needs to do, I think. We're going to see his goal output really increase when he signs for us. And not signs for us, when he eventually gets onto the pitch and plays. So, yeah, that's my personal opinion. But I like the fact that he can play anywhere across the front three, which would be a great addition to us first and foremost as well. But ideally, for me, I think, yeah, on the right-hand side.
Thank you. And we talk about depth in that number 10 position. Kudus played 45% of his minutes in that 10 role at Ajax. So if we ever get down to the bare bones, which I don't think we will, in that 10 role, we know that it can be covered by Kudus. All of a sudden, we've gone from last season, Madison and Kulusevski are injured at the same time. We literally couldn't find a 10 and playing holding midfielders here, there and everywhere to 10s roaming everywhere. Simon, I'm going to ask you, what do you think that Kudus can bring to Spurs? We talked about him being special. We talked about him being different. What in particular can he bring to Spurs? Is it that taking on the player? Is that willingness?
Yeah, I think like we know in the Premier League, you face a lot of intense pressing, and I think sometimes, especially when Madison hasn't played, and even with Madison, we've had issues with kind of keeping the ball and progressing it up the pitch. And I think he's such a pressure reliever in the same sense where when we've seen Bissouma at his best, he's just able to kind of twist and turn and, shrug players off him and just progress the ball. And especially the way I, perceive Frank liking to play, which is with quick transitions, kind of, getting the ball and just trying to attack with speed. And so I think both Morgan Gibbs-White and Kudus gives you options in how you can progress the ball. And, I've wanted Kudus. I've had two players that I really wanted to come to Spurs. We had Huijsen from Roma. Roma is my other team, so I knew what quality player he was, and I really knew that we needed a left-footed central defender. And then it was Kudus before Madison. And because my perception of Kudus playing at Ajax was him playing in the middle, in that 10 or deep, in that 8 role. And he was great in there. And I actually looked up the stats. He played 45% of his minutes at Ajax in the midfield. And then at West Ham, they've had different coaches. I think Moyes played him a lot on the right. And then he's had Potter and the other guy, what's his name?
Yeah, Locatelli, yeah.
And he's played on the left. He's played, he's not played a lot. And I think sometimes when he's in this struggling team and he plays on the right, he can disappear. And he's kind of that kind of player that you want involved in the game. So, he can play all over the pitch. But, as Joey pointed out, he gives us something on the left wing, a right wing that we haven't had before, which is a really good 1v1 player who could help us unlock low blocks, because that's going to be something that Frank faces not for the first time in his career, but for the first time consistently in his career. But I also think, again, Johnson and Kulusevski become more relevant under Frank because he does play with inside forwards more than, wingers that are supposed to just stay out wide and beat their man 1v1. He does play with quick transitions with it, which is where Johnson has had a lot of, good play when he played for us. So,
okay,
he can play all over the pitch, but I do like the options Frank has now. He can play against the low block. He can play, an open game with a lot of transitions. He can play out from the back. He can play long. So that's what you want in the squad, because we are going to face a lot of different teams, and Frank is going to have enough new things to face in this season. More games, more pressure, stuff like that. So you want him to have the best foundation to be successful as possible. So
you certainly do. And Kudus, I think, takes on a low block, something we struggled with under various managers, variety of managers. So hopefully we can tackle that issue of players like Kudus that aren't afraid to take on opposition players, drop of the shoulder. Nige, do you think 55 million for Kudus is a good deal considering other transfers that have gone on in recent days, such as Elanga going for 55 million from Nottingham Forest to Newcastle, Manweke 52 million, Chelsea to Arsenal? Does that make this look a better deal for Mohammed Kudus?
I think it seems to be the going rate, doesn't it, currently for wingers, between 50 and 60 million. I think it's a good deal for Spurs. Apparently wasn't his buyout clause 85 million? I think if that's the case, and we got him for 50, I think it was 54.5 we got him for in the end or something like that. I think it's a superb deal for Spurs. And, we have got to say Spurs, they're not great at so many things, especially selling players. But when we actually buy players, we usually always tend to get the price just about right. Sometimes pay a little bit over the edge, but
I think it's worth noting he's only 24. He's turning 25. And I think that Morgan Gibbs-White is also around 25, right? So that always goes into the price. Like there is resale value. You get someone in there before their prime. So they both have the potential to kind of explode and get even better. So for that price, I always thought, 75 was ridiculous, but 50, 60 that's a good price for him. I think it is.
100%. Okay, thank you. Start 11 versus Burnley. Again, I want to get you thinking on this one. Luke, I'm going to kick it off with you if you don't mind. If the window slams shut now tonight and we don't get, that's a repeat, do not get Gibbs-White through the door, what would be your starting 11?
Firstly, I'll be so deflated. Oh, imagine that. When you said lineup, I'd already gone, right, well, Gibbs-White will be starting. You've just taken him away from me. So I know what all the Tottenham managers feel like when they give all the list of players they want and Levy goes, no. If it slams shut right now, we can't get rid of anyone. It will probably. I think Bentancur is probably going to be a bit of a mainstay in midfield if we don't end up buying players. So I think Bentancur, Basuma or Bergvall will probably be in the middle. To be honest, I think the back five pick themselves. I know there was a bit of a run where Spence was performing really well, but I think Porro and Udogie are the fullbacks. Romero, Van der Ven. Yeah, so I'd probably go with Bentancur. Personally, I'd probably have Bergvall in there. I'd probably Kulu won't be fit, so I'll have Kudus. Is Maddison fit? I don't think Maddison will be fit neither, will he? So I'd probably go with Kudu's out. It's a tough one.
Let's say he's fit.
Maddison was in the training picks, wasn't he? Maddison was kicking the ball in the training picks. Yeah,
he's in. Right. Breaking news: Nige just confirmed he's fit for the first game.
I don't know about that.
Maddison, probably have Tell, and then I'd have Solanke up front. I think Tell's going to do quite well this year. I think if he's played right, I think if he'll be closer to the goal, would be more of an inverted forward. So I'd go with that. But if we do get Gibbs-White over the line, I'd play him in one of the deeper roles alongside Bentancur.
Interesting. Nige, a different question for you slightly. If the window slams shut again now tonight, that bit's the same. Let's assume all the deals go through, as in like the deal goes through for Gibbs-White. I'm talking about on top of the players that we've already signed. So the only difference is Gibbs-White. What would be your starting 11 for the first game of the season against Burnley with Gibbs-White?
Okay, the back five pick themselves. I would have Bentancur as the holding midfielder, I guess. I think he's the best at doing everything quite well. I would have Gibbs-White. No, I wouldn't. I would have Bergvall, and then I would have a three of Kudus, Gibbs-White, Maddison just off the left, and Solanke up front.
That sounds good. Sounds very good. Thank you. Joey, I'm going to ask you the same question as Nige about the window slamming shut tonight, but with Gibbs-White. What would your lineup be for Burnley?
As the other gentlemen have already said, I think the back five picks itself fully fit. I'd also put Bentancur at the base of the midfield in the 6. Now I'd go Lucas Bergvall and I'd go Morgan Gibbs-White in midfield. The front three gets a bit difficult now. I'd go on the right. I'd go Kudus. On the left, I'd go. I'd say. I'd go Sonny, and then I'd go Solanke up front. Yeah, that'd be my 11.
Okay, thank you. Simon, I've got a different one for you, which I'm sure will get you thinking. If all the sensible rumours happen, I'm going to leave this a little bit open. I want to know what your starting 11 will be against Burnley. So this is slightly different. So I'm happy to decide for you what sensible rumours are. So let's just say Romero stays. Let's say we don't sign Walton. Let's say the one player we do sign on top of Gibbs-White is Wissa. Let's say I don't think it's going to happen, but let's say we sign Wissa. We sell Richarlison and Romero stays. Let's just say those three things happen. What would your lineup be against Burnley?
Same back five as everyone else. I'd go in your sensible transfer. Did we get a 6 in?
Yeah. If we're linked with the player, you can have him. If it's Walton, you can have him, or any player that we've been linked with.
Okay, let's say we get Wharton or someone like
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
or Sis or someone. I play that new 6. My lineup's gonna crack your guys' lineup because I got Wharton. Then I go Morgan Gibbs-White and Maddison with him, super attacking. So it's a double pivot with Wharton and Morgan Gibbs-White, and then Maddison playing at 10, and then Son, Solanke, Kudus.
Okay.
It's against the low block.
Yeah, it is against the low block. It should be against the low block anyway with Scott Parker. Next, I want to move on to Adam Walton. So the latest news, I did say it earlier, but TBR Football, a report that Thomas Frank has told Daniel Levy to sign Adam Walton for Tottenham again. I wouldn't say it's the most reliable source, but that is the latest. So I want to discuss a little bit about Walton before we get to departures. Nige, can I kick it off with you? Is he the dream signing now in the transfer window? Would you say he's the one we've been linked with that has the highest ceiling, the highest ability?
Yes. I would say he would be the perfect player to come in for us and transform that midfield along with Morgan Gibbs-White. But I'm not sure we're going to get. It's going to be interesting that with all the takeover alleged, all this investment coming in, how much money we have to spend and how frugal we are with it. How much we're just going to go out and go, there you go, there's the money. But I think it's more likely we might get a Hayden Hackney or someone like that, which actually I wouldn't be against because I think he's a really good player. And, it's being greedy, isn't it, being a Spurs fan? We've just got Kudus. Looks like we're getting Morgan Gibbs-White. And now we're all like, oh, let's get Wharton, 80 million or whatever. No problem. But actually, I wouldn't have an issue with a Hayden Hackney. 23 years old. I think he's done it in the Championship. The only thing with him is that he's not had any Premier League experience. But for me, if we didn't get Wharton, I'd love Wharton. But a Hayden Hackney would be a close second.
Okay, that's a really good shout, actually. One that I hadn't thought about in my list anyway, in my head, about number 6s. Joey, talk to me about Adam Walton. Like, what would he bring to Tottenham if we signed him?
Oh, he's a superb footballer. He'll bring an air of calmness, stability on the ball. I think even his distribution is top notch. It's like you don't really see a tall, gangly, left-footed footballer the way he is. Just play football so effortlessly in the middle of the park. Like, I genuinely think he's a top talent, and I think bringing him in would be literally the icing on the cake for our summer window. I think if we were to get Adam Morton in, I think the only way we could even go anywhere near topping it off more than it already is if we signed an elite number 9. I think that would be the only way we could top it off, and even then, I don't think that's obviously very likely. But yeah, I think signing Adam Morton and Morgan Gibbs-White as well to conclude everything just really takes us to a whole new level. So honestly speaking, I think it would be an amazing signing, and I think it literally changes the whole perspective within the footballing side of the game for us.
100%. Luke, talk to me about Adam Morton. What would it mean if we signed him to you?
What have Spurs done to us? Because at the start of the window, I'm thinking we're getting Carl Walker-Peters on a free transfer, and now all of a sudden we're talking about Kudus, Morgan Gibbs-White, and Wharton. Like, just
Not bad.
Spurs are just an absolute mental club. I think he's top drawer. I think he has got some vulnerabilities, but paired in the right partnership alongside him, I think you've got a top player there. And I think him and Morgan Gibbs-White would actually be a very, very good duo. As I said, specifically for teams that are probably going to sit in a little bit more. I think Gibbs-White can get around the pitch. I think Wharton breaks things up. I think he moves the play on very, very quickly, which is exactly what you need. And I haven't watched bundles of Palace, but from what I see, he is a very forward-thinking player. Although he plays a bit deeper, the first pass is always to try and either relieve pressure or get it forward quick, which is exactly what Spurs have always kind of been known for, that attacking sort of play. So I think it will be very good. It would also be, obviously, that would mean that we've taken one of Palace's best, one of Forest's best, and one of West Ham's best. And a lot of the top clubs, that's what they do. You've got Bayern Munich, they've done it for years. That's how they remain top. They go and they sign the best players from the other clubs, and that keeps progressing them on. But yeah, I mean, if you actually look at it, if we get Gibbs-White, if we get Kudus, and we got Wharton, that is 3 players that have come in to immediately improve that first 11. And I can't remember the last time we done that. So he would be the icing on the cake. If we got them free, and then there will probably still be other deals done, but they will probably be more like backups, or I still think that we're a little bit short on fullback areas, that sort of thing. But if you got them free, then you can't complain about virtually anything else that's done.
The only thing is with Wharton, it's just the price is really high. I think we'd be willing to pay that. I think his wage would be high as well. I just think he seems happy at Palace. He's got a long contract. Obviously, he's English, to be at English tax. I can see it being a lot. I can see Palace wanting like a crazy amount. I mean, we're probably sitting here thinking, I don't know what you're all thinking, but let's say between 60 to 80. It wouldn't surprise me if Palace said, look, 100 million, or, he's ours. I think Palace are in the pole position to kind of do that. I think he's that valuable to them that they go, look, okay, triple digits. Look at what Rice went for. And that's the problem. Do we entertain that? Do we go that far? Time will tell. Simon, should we go that far? Let's say Palace do whack £100 million, price tag, I suppose, on him. What would you do if you're Spurs?
The context is everything. I mean, do we have the new investments? Like, if we are in the new reality that makes that kind of deal possible for us, we should do it. If we're not there and we're borrowing money or going off of some unique investment that's short term to kind of bridge the gap, that's another thing. I do think that we're going to see a fuck you price from Crystal Palace. Excuse my language. I do think. I mean, they have Europe. They have no financial need to sell him. They probably think that they can sell him at some point for that kind of price. So why should they give us a discount? I think he's perfect. I couldn't, describe him better than Joey and Luke and Nige. He does everything that we need. I think it's important that he's in an age where he can grow with the team, with our, upcoming. He's right in that between our best players and our upcoming players, so he can be with us for a decade, or to be with us for a long time. I do think we have alternatives. It all depends on how important they think that. It all depends on our financial reality. We don't know what that is, and it all depends on, how far we're willing to go. And again, we've heard from Paul and other people on Twitter. Paul is an in the know kind of account on Twitter, for those that don't know, that we might be looking for someone with more experience, and Palina or someone like that. I mean, I wouldn't be a fan of that kind of deal where we just get someone in for the sake of it, some destroyer that can't play with the ball who's 30 years old. And, if that's, the alternative, I wouldn't do it. But if it's a Rios or Aguame or Baleba, there are other, defensive holding midfielders that you could go for that are in the right kind of age, gap. But none of them are really. I mean, Rios is really good on the ball, but the other names, they're really not as talented as Wharton is on the balls specifically. And I think we really need someone that kind of be that hub in the center that just, dictates our play and is consistent in, starting and playing almost every game for us to give us that, the way Van de Ven and Romero are, that, stable, hub for us. So, yeah, I mean, I would do it, but I don't think it's likely. And I do hope they are really serious about that position. Because we've heard a lot about wingers, and we got our wingers. We heard nothing about attacking midfielders, and we got one out of the blue. And I hope it's one of the latter, where we don't hear, a name, linked a lot, but it just happens. And I hope it is one, but let's see.
Let's move on to potential departures. Let's start with Bissouma. I think he's a name that will come up a lot throughout the window, to be honest with you. One that will probably drag on, and one that was certainly expected to leave a long time ago, and probably still expected to leave now. I'll tell you what, let's just go around the panel and do a keep or sell. We'll get on to reasoning and get into it a little bit later. Unless you've got any burning comments on Bissouma, let's just do literally just the word keep or sell or loan. But if you think we should loan him, let's not cut that out of it. Luke, I'll start with you. Bissouma. What do you reckon, Luke?
I was on mute. Sell.
Sell for you. Okay. Nige?
Sell.
Joey?
Sell.
Simon?
So,
Okay. Got four, I was going to say four no's, like Brett's Got Talent, but we've got four sells. So let's get into it. Luke, I'll ask you, although you said no, like the whole of the panel, does the fact we won the Europa League and Bissouma's contribution towards the latter stages of that competition, does it make it harder to let go of something that felt so inevitable just a little while ago?
No, I'd actually say that's the reason why we sell him, because he's far too inconsistent, and you're selling him when he's had his positives. If you'd have said in January someone comes in for Bissouma at the end of the season, you've probably gone 10, 15 million and let him go. Whereas now you're going 15, 20, maybe 25, depending on who it is, sort of thing. So when we signed Bissouma, thankfully I wasn't on YouTube because I'd be getting roasted left, right and centre. But I was thinking we're signing one of the best Premier League midfielders. I thought he was going to be absolutely incredible. And he's just never lived up to that. He didn't under Conte. He didn't under Ange. There's rumours that it's more down to the tactical side of things is where he really struggles. And Frank's system, specifically centre mids, is very, very tactical based. That's where he kind of controls his whole team. Go off of Norgard was his main man, sort of thing. So if you're saying he can't do a Conte system tactically and he can't do an Ange system tactically, then I don't see how we can all of a sudden change. And I think someone mentioned it earlier about us having such difficulty selling players. I think he's a decent player and he's probably a good squad option. And I think Bentancur is probably the same, but neither of them should be at their best. You could say that they're starting, but they don't do their best that often or often enough. So that's the reasons why I'd get rid and then reinvest that money.
Okay. Thank you very much, Luke. Joey, can I ask you, again, another hypothetical, I'll keep doing this, but do you think we will see a different Bissouma under Frank if he stays, or just like with the guys, with Luke, that he's inconsistent and whatever manager, that's not going to change, even if Frank could get a little bit more out of him?
I agree with Luke. I think we would see a bit of a change, not because of him though. It will be because of Thomas Frank and having to play in his system that he needs to play. Well, I think he'll be a success. Like Luke said, it'll be very inconsistent. I think he'll have a good game here, bad game there, and for me, Basuma just can't be trusted. I think, especially in the bigger games, he becomes a bit of a liability, as we saw throughout the season against Arsenal, against Chelsea. I can't hang my hat on him. So for me personally, I don't see him working out under Frank. I mean, you never know. Players do sometimes, have a change of trajectory under different managers and stuff like that. But me personally, I've seen enough, and I don't know. I don't see it.
Okay. Nige, can I bring you in on this one? Could Thomas Frank get more out of Basuma than Ange did?
I think you could get more out of Basuma than Ange did. It's you know what I don't think Basuma's a bad player. I really don't. I think he'd actually be better in an 8. But if we're talking about having to sell one of our midfielders, then if you had said to me, would you sell Bentancur? I'd be like, yeah. Would you sell Basuma? Yeah. Would you sell Sarr? Yeah. One of them has to go. So for me, it doesn't matter which one. But I think, a bit like Joey said, I don't trust Basuma. He got sent off twice under Ange in his first season. Conte didn't trust him tactically. And yeah, I just think he switches off too much. So for me, he would be the one I'd probably get rid of. I just don't trust him enough. Not in that 6 anyway.
No, that's fair enough. Simon, although I'm going to ask you a different question, feel free to dip in on Basuma within that question. And the question is, who do you think will leave this summer? As I said, by all means, talk about Basuma.
Yeah, well, I mean, to go back to my, fantasizing about the lineup and the squad and putting up all up there and looking at, I like the details, I like the context.
I know you do.
I like to look at the contracts. I like to look at ages and stuff like that, injuries. So if you look at our whole squad, we basically right now, if we got Kudus in, we'll assume that we're going to get Morgan Gibbs White in. We assume we'll get a proper 6, a proper holding midfielder in. And that just leaves us really bloated in the midfield, and it really leaves us bloated in that one of those pivot roles where you have Sarr, Zuma, Bentancur, Gray, you could say Bergwall. And we know that the players that we are least likely to sell are the young guys. Gray and Bergwall are going nowhere. I don't think Sarr is going anywhere. He just signed a new contract. And we have Bentancur and Bissouma on expiring contracts. And we probably need to sell a total of 5 players. And I think those 2 players are, in the danger zone. And I think we can all live with one or both of those players leaving and replacing them with a Wharton or a player that profiles more as a defensive midfielder. Because as we talked about throughout this podcast, on the other side, we have Morgan Gibbs White and Kudus and other players that can play in the 8th row with them. So we're bloated at the midfield role. We need to get 2 players out. I think Bissouma and Bentancur. I think Bentancur is he's on his last year, right? He's got 12 months left. And I think Bissouma, that's the same, right?
Yeah, I think they're both the same.
Yeah. So those 2, I would say, would need to go for us to be able to do what we want to do. And then in the attacking areas, Richarlison is the obvious one. I don't think we'll sell Kulusevski or Johnson or anything like that. And then it leaves us with Davis. I'm sorry, attacking. We also have Son, and we don't really know what's going to happen with Son. I think everyone has a really different, take on him. My personal take is it's up to him. And I also think that Frank suits his way of playing much more than Ange, which could mean that you could see a resurgence in Son. And if we're honest, he is a top player when he's firing. So I'm kind of curious of seeing him under Frank. At the same time, we know it's probably his last year at this club, and maybe he wants to go, having just won a trophy instead of sitting on the bench at Tottenham for a year just for the sake of it. But then again, who's going to get him? Where does he want to go? So Son is a joker there. And then in defense, I actually think Davis got extended for us to get a fee. If he stays, I don't think he gets registered in Europe because we're already too many. We have too many players as it is. He needs to go or not be registered. And then I think the discussion needs to be had about Jorgensen, because even though we got him for not that long ago, I think he doesn't have a long-term future at Spurs, especially, just thinking about getting Danso in. Danso can play on the right, on the left, and then we have Vucevic, who might or might not stay, even he would. So those would be my five or six. Jorgensen, Davis, Bentancur, Bissouma, Richarlison, and maybe some.
Okay. And those are the ones that you think will leave or you think should leave?
5 of those I think should leave. 4 of those I think will leave. 6 of those I think.
Okay, a complete mix. That's fine. Thank you very much. Joey, going to ask you then. Simon set us up nicely, I suppose. I'll give him that. Who should... I'll give you credit there. Who should leave this summer, Joey, and who will leave this summer?
Oh, who should and who will? Oh, so it's a tricky one. It's a tricky question. It's a tricky question, that one, Harry. Who should leave? I think is a bit easier to answer. Who I personally think should leave, I agree with Simon. I think Ben Davis has been extended for a fee, because other than that, I don't see what else would be a reason to extend other than, I suppose, giving something back loyalty-wise. But I'd say for me personally, I'd say Ben Davis. I'd say as well, obviously we spoke about Bissouma. Who else? Richarlison, I'm a bit torn on, because the thing I like about Richarlison is he plays for the shirt. And some people will be like, oh, that's not enough and stuff like that. But in this day era of football, you don't get many players that will actually play for the shirt and, will kind of be, it's kind of like you feel like as a fan, he's playing for you. And it's like he mirrors how you would play if you were to be on that pitch with him. And I think that's the kind of like lure that I have for Richarlison. So I'm always a little bit hesitant with Richarlison, even though obviously his output hasn't been the greatest in a Spurs shirt. Even though he was superb in the final. But I think I'm on the fence with Richarlison. I agree with Simon again in saying I don't think any of the young players like Archie Gray, Sarr, etc. will be leaving. I think they're long-term prospects. But yeah, the rest is a bit tricky. I want Vuskovic to stay. I think he's got a bright future.
Yeah.
So that kind of leaves. Yeah, I've got about 3. Off the top of my head, I've got about 3 players, I think. But I think we're hearing for the rest of the panel. We'll see what other names come up. But yeah, off the top of my head, that's all I can think of right now.
That's all right. Before we move on, though, Joey, can I ask you about Richarlison? For you, does it depend on whether we can bring in a replacement, and if so, like who and how easy? Let's say if we could bring Witter in, would that for you mean that okay, we can move on Richarlison?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I personally would start Witter ahead of Solanke. Again, another unpopular opinion, possibly, but yeah, that's my. I'm that guy today, Harry, ain't I? I'm that guy today.
You are. I love it. It provides entertainment. Thank you very much. You've got Simon's analysis and you've got your little hot takes in there, which I do like. I mean, Solanke, I think is good. I think he's underrated, but look at what Frank's done with Witter. He's, and that whole Brentford front three that's ever evolving. I think, do you know what? I don't think that's outrageous. If you think about it, what Witter has done, if it wasn't for Thomas Frank, I think it would be Solanke clear, but Frank's made that a lot closer. So credit to him. Nige, I think this is difficult, by the way. We'll say both these questions that I'm giving all of you about who will leave and who should leave? Because there's going to be a difference whether we like it or not between the two.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to give you my hot take quickly. I think
Oh.
Solanke hits 20 Premier League goals this
Oh,
season.
here we go.
Ready to be
20.
mudded next year. It's fine. As for who goes, who should go, and who does go, I think who should go: Richarlison, Basuma, Davis, sadly Son, Solomon. That would be my 5.
I forgot him.
Yeah, and I think maybe Ashley Phillips either will go on loan or be sold. I think one of the young centre halves may be sold. I don't think it's going to be Busquets. I think maybe they might cash in on Phillips this year.
This was kind of why I wanted to talk about this, because it is really hard. We just won the European League, and we have a lot of players that we like. But then you look at the players we bring in, and the size of our squad is like 32 players. And even if you take away the Solomons and the players that have been on loan, Phillips, players that Vucevic, Young, you get to 24, 25, and we need like foreign players because we already have too many associated players. And then you get to this point where, we bring in at least another player, 1 or 2 players more with Morgan Gibbs White and a defensive midfielder. And then we're up to 25, and then you need to get that down to 17. And so you realize, we're going to have to make some decisions that are not obvious. And we're a little bit, we're not used to that, right? Because we always sell players we don't like too late. But it's been a while since it's Kane, but other than that, I can't remember a lot of players that we sold that a lot of fans really like. And I think that might happen this summer. I think it might have to happen this summer.
Yeah. Luke, same question to you. Who would you prefer to leave, and who do you think will leave?
My hot take is that I don't think Ben Davies has signed up for that extension to go at all. I think he's staying. I don't see anyone offering 70 grand a week. So, and that's what he's on with us. So I can't see a lot of people are talking about Wrexham, but he is a Swansea boy, which is essentially doing the Tottenham Arsenal thing, which is absolutely not going to happen. So I think he'll stay. I don't think he'll be included in the Champions League squad, though. I think one thing that's massively underestimated from a fan base is what it's like to have good professionals around the squad, especially with the young players, etc. I don't know whether anyone see the pictures that were posted up today of Kudus doing the light training. The man next to him is Ben Davies. He's the one that's probably sitting in there saying, if you need anything, if you need help settling, if you want anything, I'm the man to come to. I've been here 10 years. I can offer all that help and experience. And I think that's probably why he's been signed up.
He wants to be a coach too, right?
Pardon?
He wants to be a coach too.
Yep. Yeah. So I think he's just been, I think it's one more year. Give us one more year. And we would then, it's about priorities, right? And hopefully by the end of next season, we'll be looking at signing another defender that means that he's not in and around that squad. But at the moment, we need to be improving the 11 and not necessarily the backups. So I think he'll stay, but completely agree. I think the number that we're looking at as a minimum is 8 outgoings, which is including like loans and things. So I've just literally pulled up the Tottenham squad. So Gill would go for me. Divine probably goes. Scarlett would probably go. Valise is obviously gone. I don't think Ashley Phillips is good enough. And from some Stoke fans that I spoke to, they said that he's a decent level or good level championship player. So therefore he would go out on loan. Agree. Solomon, I think, needs to go. Yan Min Hyuk is probably one that goes again out on loan in my eyes. And then after that, Richie, Son is very much a case of who we bring in. I'm probably content with Richie staying another year because, again, we've got priorities elsewhere. But then that would need to be looked at the end of the season. We'd need to make sure that then becomes the priority. And then obviously we've already mentioned Basuma. One thing I will say is that I know someone that works within the club and they've been hugely impressed with Takai. Apparently the Spurs.
That's good.
Now I know this sounds very much like we do this every year. We've done it with Archie Gray, but this isn't a journalist that's leaked it to me. It's someone that within the club, and they said that they've been very, very impressed with the way that he's kind of come in and settled in. So he stays in and around the first team as part of the backup.
Okay.
That's what they said. That's what they said anyway, though, isn't it? They said he's coming straight in for the first team.
Really.
Yeah, they did.
And also, like, it's a new country, new culture, new club, new team play. I think like players like that to come to a new country and just stay with the club they don't need to necessarily play every week to kind of get something out of it. I think staying with the club, seeing how it goes, then he might go on loan or he might be ready to play. And him being able to play on the left side behind Van der Ven and Danso could be really helpful. I think if he's as good as I think he is, he might actually play a couple of games too. So.
Yeah, and I think there's something that's been overlooked this year as well, is that, see like last year, if we got knocked out of the Carling Cup early, everyone would be really annoyed by it because it was our chance of winning something. Whereas now, because we won something last year, I feel like the Carling Cup will almost be like the youth teams, because we've got that bit of breathing space now. We've just won a trophy. It's not going to be like it, as I say, if we would have got knocked out, so if we would have put a youth team out in the Carling Cup last year, everyone would have gone, what are we doing? It's a chance at a cup. We've blown it with not another trophy, etc., etc. Whereas I don't think that will happen this year with Champions League, just winning the trophy, etc. So I think that Carling Cup, if we get the right draws, you could end up seeing players play 90 minutes in them sort of games. And even if it does come out of a negative result, it won't impact the sort of mood around the club. So I'm hoping that we can get some easy draws, and then some of these young players can actually play and get some experience in them games.
Luke, before we move on, can I ask you if you're concerned about us meeting like homegrown quotas and rules? There's something, isn't it? We have to have 4, for the Champions League. Are you concerned about this? You think that's a big reason why we've gone to Gibbs White?
I don't think there's a concern. I don't think we're going to meet them. I think that's the end of it. We didn't meet it last year, and the numbers have decreased. So the only way we meet them is by signing short-term measures. But unfortunately, that's the situation that we're in. So we sort of either have to do it or we go short. And I don't see how you can go short in the Champions League. That's why I've been saying Kyle Walker-Peters makes so much sense. And we shouldn't be, as a club, we shouldn't be in that sort of situation. And everyone keeps telling me you can't want Walker-Peters, but the facts is that this is the situation that we're in. So we will only be able to go into Europe with a 22-man squad, I think it is, unless we get some club trained players.
Can I just, on that Kyle Walker, I was with you, Luke. Like, I was 100% on, because it's just a bonus player. It's just someone you get in the spot where you can't get anyone else in. But their decision to kind of not go that route, also Sirkin kind of is relevant here too.
Yeah,
I think it's all about the fact that Berg-Lange they go on the B list next year, and they might want to actually get someone in that left back position further down the line that actually kind of gives Udogie gives Frank a real rotational option on that side. So if you sign Kyle Walker-Peters that might not play at all, but he's just there to be kind of a bonus player, and he wants a long contract, you kind of put yourself in a situation where you have a player that you have to pay that's not actually going to play. So I think that's the calculation, and I can get behind that with Frank, because I think Frank can play a back 5. I think he can actually be more flexible. I think we will be in more trouble with Ange, who actually needs a certain type of left back. But he could play Takai there. He could play back 3. He could, he could do different stuff with it. I think that's their calculation, at least.
Yeah. No, I'm not. The whole Kyle Walker-Peters thing was way before that. I mean, the term on YouTube is serious club. Before we started acting like a serious club, it was almost like, well, that kind of deals with the current issue that we have now. If we're going to be a serious club and next year we actually are going to go out and get a proper left back that's going to challenge, then I'm all down for waiting a year. Absolutely fine. But this is the first time we've seen Spurs, and I don't want to kind of jump ahead of ourselves and be like, we're going to do this every year sort of thing. So, but I just think that we're going to go into it with a small squad because that's what dictates it. But this has to be looked at. And Gray, Bergvall, this is why signing some of these, Vuskovic, that's why signing some of these players and actually keeping them involved in the first team now is imperative. Because if we loan these players out, they then can't become part of the club trained, which then means that we just have to carry on having these issues year on year.
And Vuskovic is one of those players that are right on the, because I don't actually know if we can loan him out and then he can become a club trained player, because he's right in that age group where he needs to play 2 years for Spurs before 21, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or else he can't become homegrown. And
I'm pretty sure on Football Manager I've loaned him out before and he only becomes national trained. So I don't know.
There you go.
I might be wrong, but I'm sure that's what I've done. And I've done
but
myself.
on that, so I think we're going to register a 22-man squad. But as it looks now, even if we do that, we have to leave players out. And that's why I think we need to sell players, because then you're in real big trouble if you have a shortened squad and you still have to leave players out. So, we have some work left to do. That's what
Not good at all. Not good. A couple of quick fire questions. First quick fire question is: if a big name were to leave to fund these signings, I'm talking about Kudus, Gibbs White, players we talked about as well, Walton, Wissa, who would you sacrifice? So I just want a name for you, like, for example, it would be, I don't know, Kulusevski, Romero. Who it would be if you could choose to sacrifice, even if you think their position is locked in at the club? So I just want their name, if that's okay. We're going to go in a different order this time. Simon, starting with you. Just the name.
So it has to be someone I would hate to lose, right? Or else it's not a challenge.
Yeah, well, out of someone who's a big name at Tottenham, so important to Tottenham, who would you sacrifice?
I mean, Son is one. I think it has to be like between Son, Madison, and Kulusevski. I wouldn't sell anyone else.
Choose one.
Choose one?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't sacrifice my Swedish mate, Kulusevski. It has to be, and that has to be Son then, because he's only got 1 year left. Yeah, Son.
Fair enough.
Joey. But he got his trophy, so I can live with it.
He did. Good ending.
I'm going Madison.
Oh, okay. Nice, got his hands in his head.
Are we moving on, or do I need to give a reason why?
Go on, give a reason. Then we'll move on.
Morgan Gibbs White. That's all I'm going to say.
I knew it'd be quick. That's why I asked you. Nige, you had your hands in your head there. Care to explain why and who your player would be?
No, I love Madison. That's it. I just love Madison. My player would be, I don't know. I've got two, so I would either go. I mean, Sonny would be the easy one, but I would go either Porro or Romero.
Ouch! God,
just because I can't defend.
Yeah,
I love Porro going forward, but
what about if you had to choose one?
I go Romero.
Oh, okay, you go Romero. I think he's the most likely to leave, but it's whether we want him to leave or not. Yeah. Okay, nice goes to Romero. Luke?
Well, I was going to upset Simon and say Kulu, but I'm not going to do that. Nah, I think Son makes so much sense. I think Son just makes so much sense. I hate seeing I done something recently on YouTube, and it was about picking your all-time 11 vote, so your life, and you pick the best 11 you've seen. So I started looking at some of the stats and figures. When you start looking at some of the numbers that Son has put up for this club, I know people think they know them, but if you actually go and look at them, to be in the top 20 for goals and assists in the Premier League, not as Spurs, as in the Premier League ever, the numbers that this guy has hit is just absolutely frightening. Considered when I looked at all of the people that were above him, they were all in teams that were factored all around them, whereas he was always in a team factored around Kane. And don't get me wrong, on occasions that kind of brought the best out of both of them, but his numbers are just phenomenal. And I think if he goes now after winning the trophy, his legacy will stay. I think if he stays another year, it could get to a kind of Larissa, kind of Dyer, where people start only remembering where he's kind of dropped a level. So I think if he could go, it would be perfect in all situations. We get a decent amount of money for him. We have got, as Simon mentioned earlier, I think the panel mentioned it, we have got other players in the position as well that can play there. So I think it would be perfect if we lost Son for him as well.
Can I just ask one quick question?
Please do.
So this is really hypothetical, but there has been talk of it that obviously with all this money, we might, maybe, it's unlikely that it's ever going to happen, go back and just pay the release fee to get Kane back. So if we got Kane back, would you keep Son?
No, I don't. I think that both of them, I think Son is going to need legs around him if he is to be successful in the Premier League. And I think Kane needs runners off of him. And I think they're both at an age where you could possibly have one in the team, but I don't think you could have both of them.
In some ways, I mean, Son right now has something he hasn't had the last couple of years. He's got decent rotational options around him, meaning we can use him more sparingly and in games that suit him. He's got a coach who's famous for maximizing the specific profiles of his players and skills. So, I mean, I think Frank would love having Son if he could maximize and play him in the right games and in the right zones and, use his lethal right and left foot in the right way. It's a brilliant, crosser. He's a brilliant shooter. I think there's reasons to believe that Son can be much more successful this year than he was in the 2 years under Ange, and he was still pretty prolific if you actually look at the numbers he produced compared to a lot of other players. So I think it's obviously not the player he was, but I think he's still a much better player that I think a lot of people view him as. And as Luke rightly pointed out, if you look at what he's produced at this club, he had an opportunity to be top 10 in the Premier League in terms of goals for a while. I don't think he'll reach. He could still reach it. I think I don't have numbers in my head, but he's up there, like among the legends. And so I don't think it's. I think he could stay and still have like a great year and then go out on his own terms. But if he wants to go now, he could, but he won't go to Saudi Arabia. Let's remember he's much richer than we think because of his profile in Asia. So he doesn't really need the money. But let's say a big American team comes for him, he might want to do that for branding and stuff like that. But I still think it's not as likely as you automatically might think it is.
Yeah. Okay. My second hypothetical question before we get onto naming rights deals, and I promise you I won't keep you any longer. The second hypothetical is you're triggered by Nige, so you could blame me for this one, although I'm going to thank him in this case. I think it's a really good point. Dominic Solanke and how many goals he will score this season. And I'm going to be really horrible and say don't give a reason and just give a number, because this could be really interesting to see the difference. So the question is, to be specific, how many goals will Dominic Solanke score in just the Premier League? So the Premier League in the 25-26 season. So be racking your brains now while I ask you. I'm going to go to Nige first because he knows, well, he thinks he knows how many Solanke is going to score this season. Would you like to remind people, Nige?
I said he'd get 20. I'm not going to be too overconfident and said he'd get any more than that. So I'm going to stick exactly 20 Premier League goals.
I'm feeling bold and I'm going to back you up and go a little bit further. He's going to get 22 goals. Luke?
Nice.
Nige, I was really hoping that you went, and I've had a think about it, and it's probably going to be 18 or something like that. I thought it was just timing it up perfectly. I'm going to go 15.
Oof, playing it safe. 15, but still a respectable number. Luke's gone with 15. Joey?
I'm going to say 15 in all competitions.
Ouch, that's not looking good then. I think West Ham might replace him if that is the case. Simon?
I'm going to say 19, and I'm going to give a reason, but it's a short one. I just think the fact that Frank loves the cross, and we haven't seen him really dominate in the air under Ange because we always play low.
Fair enough.
We're going to see a new side of him, a target man, and I think that's going to.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. Look how good Ivan Toney was under Frank, and look how Wissa's become a really good striker under Thomas Frank. He puts balls in the box, relies heavily upon the wingers and the fullbacks. Very good point.
I only went low because I don't know how many games he'll play because of the Champions League.
It's best to play it
sure.
safe, to be honest.
Yeah, 18 is pretty good. 18 is pretty high. Exactly. He might rest a couple of games too this year. So.
Nige, we come back to this, so we're going to say, look, we proved you wrong. We'll have to see how many goals Slanky gets. Hopefully, it is high numbers nonetheless. But we'll move on to the naming rights stadium deal before we finish. So again, it's only reports, but looks like that's really close, if not all but complete. Looks like a Saudi company are winning the race with that one. Simon, I'll start with you on this one. Do you think, firstly, that we'll get it over the line?
Man, I have no idea. I'm judging by how we're moving in the transfer window. It seems like they've come pretty far. If that's actually what's fueling the spending, hopefully so. I mean, I'm so tired of calling it N17. So let's hope so.
Should be called the new White Hart Lane, in my opinion. A lot better
Yeah,
than
absolutely.
Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just me that annoys, but it's not even the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. If you read the programme or you listen to them talk about it, it's welcome to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's like a robot saying it. It's not the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's just something simple like that. I think it's annoying. So I totally agree with you. It'll be very good to be able to call it something better. Well, depends what it is. Because I think we were talking about Amazon, weren't we, previously about the Prime Arena and things like that. So there's some really cool names and some really boring names. So
like Amcron.
Yeah, there's Google, the Google Chrome. Yeah, there's a load of weird ones, weird and wonderful.
Amcron, Tottenham.
Mm.
Yeah, that's first series. I can live with that.
Yeah. Joey.
Nobody knows what Amcron is, so that's good.
It is good. Joey, what would it mean for the club if they could get this over the line? How significant would it be?
I think it'd be significant for the club itself for sure, because obviously it touches the naming right and the sponsorship and the income they get from it. As far as I'm concerned, I agree with you, H, in what you said about it being like just abrupt, like Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, like not even the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in this, it's our home, you know what I mean? So you have to get a proper name, like, so I think it'd be really important. A lot of things I've been seeing as well, especially because I watched the F1 movie over the weekend, and I was seeing a lot of
how good's that?
Oh, it's an amazing film. I suggest everyone go and watch it. But during the film, if you watched it, I saw the name Aramco a lot. Aramco. It was everywhere all over the film, and it was like allegedly, from some of the reports I've been reading, that's the company that's intrigued in getting the naming right. So you never know, but it'd be important for the club first and foremost.
Yeah, F1 track under the stadium. Yeah, it doesn't good, to be fair. I could definitely vouch. I think the F1 movie was awesome. Very, very good. Definitely recommend it if you haven't seen it. Nige, talk to me about the naming rights deal. How do you feel about it? Will it get over the line? What will it mean?
Yeah, and I think, judging by the way Spurs are maybe acting in the window, I think it's probably all but done. But you never know with Tottenham, do you? We think something's done, and suddenly a year later, and nothing's happened.
That's
but
true.
It feels like it's on the cards. It feels from everything I've heard, it's going to be this Aramco. I think they're the fourth biggest company in the world, worth like something like £17 billion. So, yeah, listen, it's great news for Spurs if it happens, but let's just see. I was getting a bit overexcited a couple of days ago, thinking that maybe we could become the new Man City. But my feet are back on the ground now, and yeah, but it's good news for Tottenham. It's a £300 million deal, apparently, isn't it? I think it's only about 25 million a year. So actually, yearly, it really probably only pays off the loan, but it's still good news.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Luke, anything to add to what's been discussed about this proposed and all but confirmed, it seems anyway, naming rights deal?
It's always going to be White Hart Lane. That's it. That's all. We should just stick to it, calling it that. But yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, there's the reports that it's either going to be for a Saudi or an American bid. I find it weird if Saudi take over the naming rights but don't somehow take some sort of control in the club. So could it be the start of a a longer association with the Saudis. There was rumours that obviously PSG, they wanted to get out there and they wanted to take over us, but then you've got all the problems that Lyon and Crystal Palace have had. So is it at the start of a phase sort of buyout? I don't know. Just if we're spending money like this, I don't care. Let's just get them in and call it whatever you want. I'll call it White Hart Lane, and we'll keep signing your Waltons and your Kudoses of the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, we want the signings, I suppose. There's definitely more to it, but the signings we're seeing at the moment, and long may it continue. But that kind of wraps us up for another episode. So thank you so much. A really good podcast. Firstly, thank you to everyone who listens, who contributed, in particular in the YouTube chat. So thank you. Yeah, to everyone who watched. If you're new, please do like and subscribe and listen after on a podcast platform. A lot of you are listening there, growing number every week. So firstly, thank you. And also thank you for listening to the end a lot of the time as well. Make sure to drop us a follow and a 5-star review if you did enjoy. Let's go through tonight's panel, who were fantastic, genuinely mean that, and see where you can find them across all socials. We'll start with Luke of Spotlight Spurs. Luke, talk to people a bit about what you do and where they can follow you.
Yes, I'm relatively new to the whole kind of Spurs community. I've only been around for a few months. I was one of the Ange in Defiance. That was why I joined. And I fought all of the big ones who told me I was wrong and I knew nothing and I had no clue about football. And then my manager went and won us a European trophy. So who's laughing now?
Good on you.
So yeah, I started up only a few months ago. I do a channel, I do a live stream every Thursday. All different guests with all different views, all different opinions. Most are Ange out, and most stayed being Ange out, but it is what it is. And then yeah, just do the odd bits and pieces in terms of videos and things like that. But Spotlight on Spurs on YouTube, Instagram, X as well. So, but as I say, relatively new to the scene. So thank you very much for having me on.
Nice one. If you ever need a guest or anything, if I can help in any way, just let me know. Thank you so much and keep up the great work. Thank you very much for coming on, Luke.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Nige, again, thank you for coming on. I've had the pleasure, haven't I, several times to come on your great channel. So talk to people a bit about it and where they can find you.
Yeah, Pure Coys has been going now on YouTube for nearly a year. It has been one of the hardest years being a Spurs fan. Most shows have been really, really negative, and apart from the end of the season, so I'm so glad now that this season we're going to see new positive Pure Coys. And yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Nige Pure Coys, and Instagram, and Pure Coys on TikTok as well, and obviously on Twitter too, X.
Lovely stuff. Thank you. Joey, where can people find you? You with us, Joey? No?
Sorry, I muted myself. Sorry.
That's all right.
You can find me on Joey Huncho1 on Instagram. Tottenham Joe 2020. Sorry about that, boys. Tottenham Joe 23 on TikTok and Instagram as well for everything Spurs, and my more dedicated football company and branch, which is Benchview Sport TV on all socials.
Nice stuff.
Sorry, that was a mouthful. Apologies.
No, you're fine. It is, yeah. You've done well, all things considered, I think. So well done. Thank you again to you. Same with everyone on the panel tonight. Keep up the great work. Simon, thank you very much for coming on, as I said at the start, and I mean it, always a pleasure. Welcome back anytime, along with everyone on the panel. Where can people find you? Talk to people a little bit about what you do. Come on, this is a chance to talk up yourself. Don't say there, oh, I'm just a fan and I don't do anything.
I have nothing to promote. I actually want to promote these guys. This is one of my favorite pods I've done with you, Harry.
Good.
Please follow Harry on Twitter and follow this pod. Give him a like and subscribe and all that. Luke, we follow each other on Twitter. You're brilliant on the pod today. Go follow him on Twitter. Spotlight on Spurs. Pure Coys. I mean, look at this joker. Yeah? How do you not want to follow him? What? And Joey, he's about to rob a house or something. You can't barely see. He's parked outside someone's house.
Pitch black, yeah.
Yeah, he's spying on his girlfriend, cheating or something. So go follow him for more of that kind of exciting, content. And yeah, I actually don't have anything to promote. I'm on Twitter sometimes and talk my shit, and I'm on here semi regularly. So when Harry, forgets how annoying I am. So you can catch me on this pod. So follow Harry for more of me. Yeah, that's about it. Come on, your Spurs.
Thank you very much, Simon. You always bring the debate, you bring the entertainment, you bring the laughter, and I love some of your theories that you think about. It's great to hear. So always keep going, keep smiling, and keep being you. So thank you very much for coming on, and thank you to all of you guys. It's been a very, very good podcast. I want to thank actually everyone who's listening for all the support recently on the road to 3K. This has been the best month on record for a considerable amount of time. It's been the best year on record as well, ever, since the channel was created at the back end of 2021. So thank you very much for the continued support. A lot of content coming in the next couple of days. Worked on a couple of interviews today that will be coming out. So thank you very much for the continued support. If you do have 2 minutes and can nominate me for the Football Content Awards as well, that would be fantastic. I'll drop the link in the chat. So thank you very much, and pleasure to these guys. It's been a real privilege. For now, come on, you Spurs.